All right, welcome to Application Cohort. This is a workshop intended for all of you. The purpose behind this is to make sure that you feel confident going into the application process. You have two fabulous advisors that are kind of your junior, senior advisors to support you in this endeavor, myself and Shannon Kerr. She couldn't be here tonight, but she wanted to say hi. So we're going to do something just to warm up. And so this will be interactive for the Zoom session too. So I don't know if you've ever played the board game or the card game where you do Once Upon a Time, where you have like a place, a thing, and a scenario like that. But we're just going to go around the room and we're going to introduce ourselves and we're going to add to the story. And yes, it's going to be a convoluted, stupid story, but it'll be fun. So my name is Erin Colburn. I'm the pre-health advising coordinator. And once upon a time, there was a Boise State University Bronco. And then you get to say your name and then you get to tell us where they live.
Okay. Hi, my name is Zach Coleman. Once upon a time, there's a Bronco that lived in a treehouse.
Okay, then we have Michaela. Go. You're going to say your name and you're going to tell us an action. Then what is this Bronco doing? Go.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Michaela. I'm pre-veterinarian and the Bronco community house and was playing the game of life.
Okay, so Haley, tell us what happens next to the game of life.
Okay, my name is Haley and the Bronco lives in the treehouse, was playing the game of life. He changed directions.
Ooh, okay, McKenna.
Hi, everyone. My name is McKenna and what am I telling?
What happened when they changed directions? What happens next?
They changed directions and then they went and got a little ice cream.
Awesome.
My name's Emily. After they got the ice cream, they spilled it on the floor.
My name is Eric. After spilling said ice cream, the Bronco proceeded to eat it all.
Ooh, hygienic.
My name is Rose, and after he ate it off the floor, yes, he saw a little worm there on the ground.
Ooh, a worm.
My name is Megan. After he saw it off the floor on the ground, he saw a third worm.
Nice.
I'm released after we saw third worm, decided to go out in this. My name is Michael. After cleaning up the mess, he realized he forgot it was his wife's birthday.
Oh, you're mad. You're mad.
Hi, I'm Reese, and after he realized it was his wife's birthday, he went and bought her flowers.
Charles. So he bought her flowers. What is the Bronco going to do next? Oh, he's muted. Haha.
After buying the flowers, you picked up a Rice Krispie cake.
Okay, Maddie.
He ate the cake because he couldn't wait to give it to her.
Courtney.
My name is Courtney, and after he ate the cake, he was so sad because his wife started crying about not getting any of the cake.
Sage.
So he said, or his wife said, well, why don't we bake a cake together? Another one.
Ready?
So he just bought another cake instead.
McKaylee.
And then he ate that other cake that he just bought.
Abigail.
His wife divorced him because she wanted the cake.
Sydney.
And then he got a really bad stomachache and realized it wasn't worth it.
Alyssa.
And then he called his wife and brought her a new cake and flowers and said he was so sorry.
Levi.
Then he discovered that his wife was allergic to the cake.
Lauren.
Then he decided to get her a puppy instead.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, what our goal is tonight is to get to know each other a little bit better. I don't know all of you, so that's a nice blend of being a chance to get to know all of you a little bit better. But we want to get you set on a roadmap. That was a journey. That was a once upon a time story that was pretty silly, but that is how life really works. And that's how this application process kind of can work, in a sense that there isn't a right or a wrong way to do this. There are some milestones or some things that can make it easier for you to be effective, but this is your individual process. So we're going to go through some ground rules for Cohort. We're going to talk a little bit about what the big picture of your application is going to look like, and then we're going to talk about entrance exams. So what is Cohort? Well, Cohort is an opportunity for you to get to know all of these fabulous people, these students in this room that are going to be going through the exact same process as you. And there isn't an intention to this that we learn from each other so much better. You're going to learn from me. I've been doing this for 15 years, so I have some good practice, okay? And I have a good success rate in helping students get where they need to go. The key is that I'm the helper, I'm not the doer. I'm not going off to medical school or PT school. I'm not going to PA school, but I know how to get you there, okay? But you all know each other somewhat, and you're going to get to know each other better. You might discover that you can study together, or that you could work on application parts together. You can learn from each other about experiences that you've had an opportunity to partake in. There are lots of venues that you can be involved in. So it is meant to kind of start to cultivate some of that. And my intention at every time we come is that you will hear something that will be of value, that you'll go, oh, this is how we do it. Okay. And I can kind of do it that way, or maybe I want to do it a little bit different, and that's okay too. Okay. The other piece to this is our goal is to get you ready to apply next summer. Some of you might already be in the application process right now, and you want to share your story. And that's totally cool, because that's what I would hope would happen. I tried to invite as many of the 2023 entrances to this so that we can get that. And you'll get a variety of that option coming this year. But one of the other things that you need to know about is that I don't intend for this to be overwhelming, in a sense that if you come out of this tonight and you go, oh my gosh, I am not ready, I should not be doing this, set up an appointment with me, because you might be right on the money. You might be not ready, and that's okay. It's not meant to overwhelm you. It's meant to set the stage for you to be successful in your goals. But this is a good gauge. We are going to try and instigate a new process in our office where we do a check, where we sit down with you and be like, hey, do you feel ready? Are you not ready? Where are you at? Because it's not an exact science. It's not, oh, I'm going to graduate in 4 years, and after my 3rd year, I'm going to apply. No, not everybody. Not everybody does it that way. So we want to be fair to everybody. So ground rules. This is not a negative place. This is not a negative space. It's not a judgmental space. This is how you help each other. Because you might feel like, oh, it's a severe competition. I gotta get in. It's so scary, and there's all these people applying. Yeah, that's true. But here's the bottom line. When you get there, when you're actually there, everybody's on the same page. You are exactly the same, in a sense that you all are bright, beautiful, smart people, and you're going to be successful. And if you don't help each other out, if you're competing with each other, that's not the community I want for healthcare community. I don't want competition. I want somebody who's going to come to me as a patient, me as the patient, and take care of me, right? We do not talk GPAs here. No, nope, game over. You can come to an advising appointment, and I'm happy to talk about GPAs. I'm happy to look at your GPA. I'm happy to support you in figuring out whether you feel like you need to make some changes, or whether you feel really good, or what could be some options if then what. But we don't talk that here, and we don't talk test scores here either. Okay, those are numbers. They're the meat and potatoes of your application. We're going to talk about how we make those multivitamins shine. Okay, because you can't live this world without multivitamins. Everybody's going to get a turn to ask a question. Everybody's going to get a turn to be heard. And that might mean your academic advisor will have to shut up. Okay, I like to talk. I like to talk about this stuff, but I know I need to be quiet sometimes, okay? Some things to live by, these are tiny print. You get a copy of the slideshow after the presentation, so I'll record it. You'll get an email, it'll have everything loaded up for you. Core competencies. These are from the AAMC website. Service orientation. Well, yeah, these are on the pre-med website, but let's think about this. McKenna, do you think you need to be service oriented to go to PT school? Yes. Rose, do you think a dentist might need some service orientation too? Sure, right? Social skills. Are we going to talk to people? Even if we're a pre-med. I know you're pre-med. I know. But I already used pre-med at the beginning, and so I had to be selective. Cultural competency. Not everybody looks, feels, and sees the same things we do the same way. Teamwork. Yes, we need to work together as a team. Oral communication, being able to communicate well. Ethics and responsibility to self and others. I believe this is right and this is wrong, and I believe this, and I'm going to stand on it firmly. Reliability and dependability. I don't know about you, but I hate going to the doctor's office and waiting like 35 minutes because doctor was late. You know, I know things happen, but still, this sucks, right? You got to be dependable. Resiliency. This is a big one, especially with COVID right now, right? Like you guys just got through pandemic, 2 years of a pandemic. We're still kind of dealing with the aftermath of it. We had to be resilient. We had to be like, okay, this isn't working out. We had to make mistakes. And making mistakes is not a bad thing for medical school. It's not a bad thing for PA school. They want to know that you are a human being and you're fallible. But what do you do with that fallibleness? Right? How do you take it? Where do you bring it to the table? And you want your application to orchestrate all of these competencies. You need to have capacity for improvement. I failed. I'm never doing it again. That's not improvement. I failed. Okay, how do I fix that? Who do I need to talk to get some help to figure out what's the next step? Okay. Critical thinking skills. Yes, you need to be smart. But you know what? I think smart comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. I am a very hard worker, but I'm not super IQ smart. But I'm a hard enough worker that I could figure it out. Scientific inquiry. Why do we take all these prerequisites to go out of our program? Well, because you hopefully will be able to understand it when you are faced with a real life patient and you can put that science to work. Written communication. This one's a little harder, I think, for your generation because y'all like to text. And so it's like, oh, I need to like be a little bit more forthcoming with my information. And human behavior. Knowing how we behave around each other and being like, that seems a little odd, but I'm going to take you for who you are. This is a construction. Oops. I'm trying to move this little thing. This is the elements of a student that wants to go to medical school, or a student that wants to go to dental school, or a student that wants to go to vet school. It doesn't matter what school program you want to go to. You need these things built into you, who you are. And you get those from your experiences. And we'll talk a lot about that this year, okay? So keep that in mind. It is not one part, it's the sum of those parts, okay? I want to apply. I don't know what I need to know. What do I need to know? Tell me, Erin, what do I need to know? Well, you tell me. Tell me, what do you think you need to apply? What are the things, what are the building blocks of an application? And that can come from the Zoom room too. And I'll be watching chat. What do you need? Somebody. You need prerequisites, you need courses, right? Is it an exact science? Can I hand you a PT list of prerequisites, McKenna, or do you have to look at schools? Yeah, so we have prerequisites on the doc. What else? Letters of recommendation. Yeah. You have to get letters of recommendation. You need a list of schools. Yes. You guys are probably tired of that, right? Like, I don't want to hear about it anymore. What else? That's it? Personal statement, a narrative about your story, telling them, look at me, this is me. Okay, what else? What do you think? You need entrance exams. Yep, not all programs. Med, yes, you need an entrance exam. PT could range from whether you need the GRE or not. Sure. What else? Any other ideas from the Zoom room? Patient exposure. You need some experience, right? A resume. And it's not how many hours do I need, Erin? It's did I go out and I volunteer? Did I lead somebody or mentor somebody? Did I understand what it is to be around somebody sick that's not my family member? Right? Like I love my kids and I will take care of them. My son is kind of a baby, like he's kind of a whiner, but I still love him and I'll still take care of him. Will I take care of somebody I don't love? Will I have empathy and compassion and put myself in their shoes? Great. Okay. Volunteer hours. Yeah, those are great questions. Okay. So we're going to go on this journey together this year. And I don't want you to think of it as I have to do this big thing, because that's overwhelming. That's terrifying. I want you to think of it like this. So if I was going to read a novel, and I'm a big reader, I always go to the end of the book and find out how many pages that book is. So let's say the book is 300 pages, and I have 30 days to read it. I read it much faster than that, but I have 30 days to read it. I can read 10 pages a day, and I'll get through the whole book. That's not scary. I can do that. I can do it in small bites. That's what we're going to do here. We're going to break it up into 3 1/3. Okay. So fall, we have 16 weeks. We don't technically have 16 weeks because we've been using 5 of those, but we have about 16 weeks. Okay. Spring, we'll have 16 weeks. And in most cases, applications to PA school, PT school, medical school, dental school, vet school all start in the summer. And so you'll have a summer project. You'll have summer tasks. If you break it up like that, it doesn't seem so scary. Or does it? You're still scared, terrified. Oh my gosh, I can't do this. Okay. So fall semester, some benchmarks or some bullseye tips. We need to talk about entrance exams because we need to make some decisions about entrance exams. And we'll talk about that tonight. You also need to identify your schools and your experiences, because those are going to help you make sure, 1, I got the prerequisites right. 2, I know what letters of recommendation are expected of me. And we'll talk about that a little bit too. And you need to know what experiences you've had so far, what experiences you might need, right? And I know you all are busy, and you're probably going, yeah, I don't really keep track of that stuff, Erin. I don't really know how many hours I've observed a physician or a PT. Well, I have a couple of tricks for you to help you kind of get where you need to go. So that's what you're focused on in the fall semester. Oop. Right, okay. Okay, sorry. Okay, entrance exams. So we're in the fall semester, so we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then I'll foreshadow the spring. Okay, so when should I take it, Erin? Should I take it? Well, that's going to depend on a couple of things. How should I study for this is going to depend too. What should I study for this and when? Okay, so here's what you want to think about. So for medical school and dental school and vet school, the applications open up about May. Vet school, it opens up in January, but you really can't do anything until May. Okay, so the applications themselves, they don't even open until May. For PA, it's in late April, early May. For PT, OT, it is July. Okay, so you need to know when they open. You also need to know when you're going to apply. So for everybody in the room, you need to apply early. Not earliest. You don't have to be the first one out the gates. Sure, that would be great. The world would be perfect. I would love it if we had world peace, but we don't have that, okay? Don't put yourself up for an extreme expectation of trying to get your application in the first day it opens. No, that's not going to work. But you need to apply early. What do I define as early? Well, I want you to think about this. If an application opens up in May, and the medical schools, dental schools, and vet schools do something called early decision. No, you are not going to do early decision. That is a dumb move. You can only apply to one school. You can only apply to one. And they hold your application until they make the decision, which they don't make until August. So if you do early decision, you get one shot. And you can't do nothing until after. It's smarter to apply to multiple schools all at once. Early application for me for med, dent, and vet is May, late May, because that's the soonest you can submit is late May, to August 2nd. That is the early decision deadline. I'm like, hey, you're early if you're in that window. Why am I telling you this? Well, that could help you decide when you're going to take your test. For the MCAT, you have 35 days to get your score. For the DAT, the GRE, the PCAT, and the OAT, and all those, you get it the day you take the test, you get a rough unofficial score. And then your scores are delivered 10 days after. Okay? So if someone wanted to apply early, they might want to take their MCAT exam in May, okay? So that they get their score back and they can still submit early. There are other strategies you can use, but this is just a rule of thumb. So when should I take my test? Well, you need to figure out when you're going to apply. And then base the decision when you're going to take the test off of that. You also can use the question mark of when do I take the test by how am I going to study? There is no right or wrong way to study for an exam. Some students are very organized individuals. They're bright. They can put it all together. They are organized. They don't procrastinate. They are structured. They might be a great self-studier. They might be able to purchase some books and do their own self-study plan. They will come up with a plan, but they can do that. Other people, they don't have time for that. They're going 3 different ways and they are procrastinators and they need a full-length course. So that is a question mark. When do I take full-length course if I want to do full-length course? Or when am I going to study? Am I going to be in 16 credits? Probably won't be able to study while you're taking 16 credits, okay? What you should study? Well, there's tons of companies out there. No, there isn't a right or wrong one. My advice is, yeah, it's great if someone gives you a Kaplan set of books. Says, here, these are my free books. That's great, except for what if Kaplan doesn't make sense to you? That's problematic. I have a cool thing for you though. Across the hall from this office in room 116 is my office, and we have a lending library, a full stocked lending library. We have MCAT, GRE, PCAT, DAT. We have the Kaplan, Princeton Review, Magoosh. We have Altius. We have Blueprint. You can come check out 2 different books, take them for 2 weeks, try them out. You can shop free of cost, doesn't cost you anything. You can find out, ooh, I like Kaplan. This is a good choice. Or, ooh, you know what? I think Exam Crackers makes a little bit more sense to me than this other one does. Or you can a la carte it. I like that. I do have 2 Kaplan scholarships. I'll be sending out an email to the application cohort group for the MCAT. And you can fill out a questionnaire to try and apply for one of those. Okay, I have 2. And then you need to ask yourself when you're going to study, right? Like I said, I don't think that we are great multitaskers. No, sorry. I think that it's going to be really hard to be working, to go to school, to be studying. And so you have to think about those things too and piece it together. So here's the rule of thumb I use. Thanksgiving break, we have Black Friday. I like Black Friday. There's lots of sales. There are often Cyber Monday sales for these kinds of things. So if you know by Thanksgiving what you're going to use, whether it's a course, whether it's a self-study and you're going to use this material or that material, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, wherever you get presents in the winter. Hi, be asking mom and dad, aunts and uncles, grandma and grandpas, brothers and sisters, money, or go buy me this book, or go buy me this course, right? So instead of getting clothes for Christmas, do that, yeah? So I like you to have your stuff by Christmas. And I like you to take a diagnostic. Take a practice exam, a free one. Don't spend your money on the first one. MCAT provides a free one. And what we're suggesting you do is take it and be like, okay, I need this much time to study, or I don't need this much time to study, whatever it might be, okay? You also need, and we're going to go back to the exam thing too, but so you need to solidify your school list. Why is this so important, Erin? You bugged me about this as a freshman. You bugged me about it as a junior. Yes, it's so important. The average medical applications is 17. So, PA is about 6 to 8. PT is about 6 to 8. OT, okay. Optometry is about 3 to 4. You need a good school list because we do need to make sure that if we need to put you in an in-progress course while you're in the application process because it's a prereq that you need, we need to know that. Okay. The other is letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendation vary. Some schools are very specific. Must have 2 PTs and an academic, or must have a science instructor and a pre-med advisor and a physician. Some schools are like, hey, we would like you to have 3 letters. You get to pick. And if you're going to apply to multiple schools and you're only given a certain amount, so PT, OT, Dent, vet, you get 5. Get up to 5. Med, you get 10. 10 spots. Okay. You're also going to want to collect your experiences. And this is important. I know it's hard, but here's what I will tell you. If you try this out, just try it out for like 17 days. They find if you can do something and for 17 solid days, you can make it happen. Okay, here's my advice. Right? Take 5 minutes and just on one side of the page, write everything you've done. You can keep these categories in mind. Did I volunteer? Was I a leader? Did I do research? Did I experience patients? Did I have observation? Did I do something fun? Yes, fun is important to your life, and you should talk about that in your application. Learning. Learning is a big one. Wow, that was an aha moment. Work, my favorite. Student comes to me and says, I don't have any experience. Really? I'm pretty sure your Dutch brother's barista. Yeah, I've been doing that for 3 years. Really? You don't have any experience? I'm not a pharmacist. I go, well, duh, that's why you're going to pharmacy school. I said, do you have to do an inventory? Oh, yeah. So you have to talk to people? Yeah. Yeah, it's not patient care exposure, but it's work. Okay. So spend 5 minutes doing today. Just today. Just today. And then take another 5 minutes and write out what you did last week. Just last week, just as a whole. Okay, list it out. If you see something that you're like, ooh, I can kind of journal about that, or I can kind of reflect about that, or I can ask the questions, what did I learn? Why did I do it? And what's it going to do for me next? If you did this for 60 days, 2 months, think about how much backtracking you would have. And you'd also have a habit of doing the stuff that you're doing forward. And you have it in a collective space. That's the idea. So I'm just kind of setting a deadline of, hey, by January, have your past written out. In the October presentation, I'm going to do an Odyssey plan and a wayfinding map, and you can use those tools if that will help you. Okay, but getting the stuff down, just getting it down, even if it's not reflective, is highly ideal. There is a difference between just documenting and reflecting though. And I do want you to spend once a week trying to do that. Trying to ask yourself, why do I want to be a physician or a PA or a PT or a dentist or a veterinarian? Why? And how do I know that to be true? Well, it's your experiences that are driving you there, right? You went, ew, I don't want to do that. It's like that. Okay. So I'm not a great writer. I'm honest about that. It takes a lot of effort out of me to write, but I am a great storyteller. I am great at sitting across from somebody and telling a really funny or really vibrant or really great story. Because of that, and I know that of myself, I know that when I talk to my peers and my other advisors, I get out the things that are the most important to me. I can ask the questions, why did I do this? Or what did I learn? And I can vocalize them. Okay, so having a conversation with your peers is nice because you can tell them the story of, hey, I saw a patient, or I shadowed a dentist, or I went into a veterinarian clinic. And you can talk about what that was, and they can bug you about it. They can be like, so what was that like? Why did you like it? Right? They can springboard off of you. And if you're smart and you record it, then you might actually get something from it. Like you might get some meaty stuff that like you didn't have to write it out, it just came out. There's a tool, it's called Otter, OTTER.ai. You get 600 minutes of dictation. You set it on record, it will record all of the voices and it will dictate the whole conversation. I love it because I can sit in the car, I can turn that on and I can be like, and I can roll off a couple of ideas that I'm trying to build into a paragraph that I want to write. And then I don't have to type it out. It's already there. And I can go back and I can read it and I can reformat it and re-say it and be like, oh wait, that didn't make sense, or this didn't. It's awesome. So if you are not a writer and you're not a journaler, do a video one or a recording, or talk to your buds. Okay. Come talk to me. I'm not kidding. I have a dry erase board in my office. Somebody comes to me and they're like, my personal statement states. I'm like, well, let's talk about it. And I draw a nice little stick figure of them and I write their name above it. And I say, okay, tell me about you. Tell me who you are. Tell me. And then I ask them questions and I start writing stuff on the board and they go, oh, there it is. There's my story. I just didn't see it because they need a little bit of help. They need a little bit of springboard. Okay. Spring semester. So that was one side of the picture. The spring, the fall sets you up for your spring semester. What you're going to do is you're going to start making those experiences that you lined up. You're going to start picking them and being like, this one, I like this one, I like this one. These ones make sense to me. Okay. You might even find a personal statement out of it. You might be like, oh, I want to tell this story. You're also going to know who you're going to ask. If you know what your letters of recommendation expectations are, you're going to be able to go, uh-oh, Erin, I don't have a science instructor. Oh, I'm sure you do. You're just chicken. You don't want to ask him. And that's what we'll do, is we'll figure out who you're going to ask. And then you'll ask them in spring, in March. Everybody say that with me. March. Not December. March. Okay, because you can't do anything until May or June or July. So why are you asking them in January? Now there are some exceptions to the rule. Okay, so if you're graduating this December and you will not see anybody, you can do one of two things. You could try and ask them now, prime the pump and say, hey, I'm going to be applying in the spring and I need to do this. Or you can keep the relationship open. You know, your faculty actually like to talk to you. They like to hear from you. What do you do? How do you feel? Hey, they might want you to get involved in some research opportunities, or they might want you to stay on and do certain things. Hey, that's how you do it, okay? And then you're gonna start studying for the exam. Now, if you are in a full load of classes, I don't expect you to be studying like really, really crazy, okay? That's nuts. But I also know you better than I do. I'm not your boss, I'm your guy. You get information and you need to decide what you do with it, okay? But here's the thing. I want everybody to think about this. 1 credit at Boise State University is 1 hour of lecture and 3 hours of study. So if you say have been capable of 16 credits and working and doing all those things, but you drop down to 12 or 15. Maybe you could pull out a 1 hour lecture and 3 hour study on your entrance exam. That's kind of cool. So think about it that way. Think about like your schedule and think about what you can maintain. Usually after spring break is a good time to kind of start going. To start really get going. The last week of May is finals. You should have most of your classwork in a bag, right? Like you should be done almost. And my rule of thumb for any of the entrance exams is 8 to 12 weeks of full-time study. That ranges from anywhere between 320 to about 500 hours. You could spread that over 16 weeks. You could spread it over longer and do less, right? But that's the idea. But if you want to be consistent and you want to just pal it out, you kind of want to do that. So in the summer, the applications are going to open. And you're going to continue to behave like you've been behaving. You're going to keep doing volunteering. You're going to keep doing observation. You're going to keep doing the things you do. But you're also going to start to fill in those documents, send those things off, start preparing for what we call secondaries. So many of these applications are a primary application. You fill out one application, you tell it, these schools to get it. Okay. And then those schools will send back, hey, we need some more information. And unfortunately, some more money. Sad, bad. But then they want more essays. And you have to write those. If you apply to 17 schools and you want to fill out 17 secondaries, that's a lot of work, right? So think about your summer schedule as well. Like if you're going to be in classes in the summer, you might be a lot more busier than you thought you were. So keep that in mind. And then interviews, typically, depending on the profession, they will probably start September, October. Okay, that would be why it's important to apply early. I had a student come to me and I thought it was great. He said, hey, you know, I noticed that ICOM has an April 1st deadline. And I said, yes, why are you telling me about the deadline? There's a word in there, dead. Why are you telling me about the deadline in April? And he goes, well, because I'm going to take my MCAT in January and I'm going to apply for this cycle. Yes. Let's have a conversation. Because what's happened is, so students have been submitting to ICOM since June. And I already have a student who got accepted to ICOM last week. And he hasn't applied yet. So if they're applying right now and he's waiting until April 6th, do you think he's going to get an interview? No. If he does, it's more likely for their wait list, for their alternate list, because they'll have selected their class. Because many of these schools are rolling admission. And we'll tell you PT and OT are a little different because some of those schools don't do that. They wait for the application. Same with PA, sometimes they wait. But that information is readily available and transparent. But for med and dent, don't wait that long. No, yeah, that's great that there's that deadline. I wouldn't risk it. You're spending a lot of money applying to these programs. I don't want that for you. Okay. Good reminder. It's a process. You're not going to build it in a day. It's going to take time. Do it in small bites. So I talked a little bit about this, but I'm going to go back over it. So entrance exams. This is the big one. This is the thing we need to figure out by December. What are we going to do about this? Okay. MCAT, there are dates. They have not produced them yet. I was hoping by today that I'd be able to deliver that to all of you pre-meds, but unfortunately, those won't be this. Typically, October 15th is when you're able to register for January, March, April, May, and June test dates for the MCAT. We have not gotten those dates yet. So, but they will be hot off the press, I promise. I'm watching like a crazy little hawk. And then I'm going to send out the email and say, hey, these are the steps that you need to take. Okay. For the DAT, it's 60 days in advance. It's whenever you're ready for the most part. There are blocked out dates that are the MCAT dates, unfortunately, but you can do it when you need to do it. Some students have realized that the May dates kind of are coveted and they get filled full real fast for DENT, for the DAT. So if you have a pretty good idea when you want to take it, you could probably go 90 to 120 days in advance. Okay. The GRE, same thing, 60 days in advance to schedule it. It's pretty open. You kind of just need to take it when there's no blackout dates. For PT and PA and OT and veterinarian, I would say for the GRE, use your summer. Study May, June, take it in July. Give yourself a good 2 to 3 months. You will have plenty of time to get your application in. And not all the schools require the GRE anymore. So it's like, you know, that's a pretty good idea. So veterinarian, same thing. The OAT is specific dates. So if you're an optometry student, just be aware, July, September, February, I want to say March, but don't quote me on that one. And so you kind of have to plan ahead for the OAT for if you're optometry. PCAT, there aren't as many schools requiring that, but it's the same thing. There are specific dates and there's only like 4 exams. I usually like for PCAT and OAT for you to take it in July or September. So Levi had a great question and I want to address it. Why the PA schools are much lower. I would say that those are numbers that were probably about 2 years old. PA has become quite popular. It's become more competitive. I would say that students are being more strategic about their schools, and PT students should do the same thing, is that you should really pick schools that see you in the best light. The same goes for med and dental. Why would you apply to a Texas school if you're not from Texas? They accept 2% out of state. No. Why? Why would you put that money out there? Why would you want to get told no just because you're not from there? That's painful. Now, if you're from Texas, great, good for you. But let's be honest, okay? You need to be thinking about those strategies for where you sit. The other thing too to keep in mind is your test scores and your GPA are important. But if you are basing your decision on a school because you are not the average or higher, that's kind of dumb. Because what is an average? Somebody tell me who's really, really smart. An average is composed of what? Yes, right? Would it surprise some of you to hear that the University of Washington's medical school's lowest GPA was a 3.1 last year? Oh, yeah, their average was a 3.7. Yes, it was, but they accepted someone who's 3.1. So think in ranges. Am I in the range? Then maybe I have a shot. When you're thinking about schools, here's what I want you to think about. Am I from there? I'm not. Okay. How friendly are they to out-of-state folks? Oh, they're pretty friendly. Cool. I really want to go there. All right, then you should do that. Here's what I would say. If you were applying to 10 schools, I would hope that 6 of those schools were real to you, that you meet their prerequisites, you like them, your GPA sits in a really great place, your test score is in a really good place, and you believe that these schools you could get into. I would hope that the other 4, who were composed of 2 that were mid-levels, that were like, it would be nice to go to these places, and I'm not quite there, but I think I could get in. And 2 that are, yeah. If you don't apply, you're not getting in. Can't win the lottery unless you play, right? So I'm a believer in dream schools. I'm a believer in you. But if you don't apply to that school because you think that you're not capable of it, that's on you. I've had 2 students go to Harvard. I have 1 at Dartmouth. I have 1 at Stanford. I have several students all over the US at really prestigious schools. So don't count yourself out. Okay, but be smart about it, right? 60% were in a great place. There is a situational judgment test that a lot of programs are now adopting. It's called Casper. There's information about it. Typically, you want to take it around April, between April and July for application cycles, okay? It is not something you can study for. This is about your behavior, what you do, how you behave in a situation. So you can watch some of the videos and learn how it happens. You can participate or observe our MMI, our mini multiple interview, where you get to see situational questions and how people act. That's a good place to practice, okay? Yes, you're gonna have to pay for these darn things. They're expensive. There are fee waivers though. The MCAT, you can get up to 23 MD schools if you meet the FAP requirements. 40 levels, 40 times the poverty level. So it's a big group actually. So here's what I always tell students. You can't get the fee waiver if you don't apply for it. And it doesn't cost you anything. So just apply for it. Okay, so apply for the fee waiver. If you get it, you can get a reduced cost on your entrance exam. So instead of being an MCAT that's $365, it's $165. Whew. That's like study materials. Difference. You also get for a lot of you get like a free use of like the DAT School Explorer, the ADA School Explorer, or the MSAR, so you can get those things. They're usually good for up to 2 years. With MD, just be aware, with medical, be aware that DO has their own fee waiver requirements. And so if you meet the FAC for MD, you're going to meet it for DO. So you might as well apply for both. Okay. You want to do that before you register. So you need to think about that. If I'm going to register for the MCAT in October, I might need to apply for this now. Okay. When to take the test. So we talked a little bit about this in terms of timing, and everybody's a little different. Okay. I have done separate videos for the GRE, the DAT, the PCAT, the OAT, and I will send those in the email. They're about 5 minutes long, and they go a little bit more into detail about them. And you can always come to an advising appointment and we can talk a little bit more about it. The rule of thumb across the board though, 8 to 12 weeks, a good solid 40 hours a week study. Okay. Know what you're supposed to study. Don't take a test without the material. If you are in Physics 111 and 112 right now, or what you won't have it done before you want to take the MCAT. Are we taking the MCAT? Because you won't be ready. Okay. Know what your materials are. Use our lending library. There's guides in there that tell you exactly what it's covering. Meet with an advisor, make sure you know. Okay. How does the application process work? Primary application opens. They give you a couple weeks to fill it out, and then they say, okay, you can start submitting. So the minute you can start submitting, you can get submitted. And then this is what happens. It has to be verified They have to take your official transcripts and what you told them you took and make sure you're telling the truth. That takes 10 to 15 business days. Okay? 10 to 15 business days across the board. PT, OT, doesn't matter, 10 to 15 business days. So your stuff will not go to the schools until it's verified. It gets to the school. Some of the schools do the supplemental applications inside the application. So PT, OT, dent, DO, will often do that. They'll have like a secondary already built in when you select which schools you want to have. But others would send you the secondaries or expect you to have read their website and figure out that you got to pull it off of their website and fill it out. It's usually for like graduate school for PT or PA, or it's more essay questions. It's basically their entrance into your school. For the University of Washington program, the University of Utah, to prove you're an Idaho, Washington, or whatever resident, you have to do a certification process with that secondary to prove it. And they have the steps, they explain how to do it. And doesn't take very long at all. Doesn't take long. It's through Idaho State University. You have to get their paperwork and then you go through that verification. It's on the WAMI website, so if you wanted to look at that, you can. How much time do you need? So keep that in mind, okay? There are two strategies that I want you to think about in regards to the application and entrance exams. Strategy one is the dream. Take your test, wait for your score, get it back, it's perfect. You submit your app. That means you might risk something. You might not have as much time to study because you're trying to get your application in early. Okay? Or it might mean that your application is later because you're waiting for the test. The second alternative to that is called a blind submission. And you need to do it right. You submit to one school, just one. You fill out your whole application, get it all ready to go. You're taking practice exams. And you're discovering you're really doing pretty well. Like you know you need about 4 or 5 more weeks. And so you're like, you know what, I'm gonna submit to that one school. And it's gonna get through the verification process, which is 10 to 15 business days. And they're not gonna do anything with it until they have your score. You get your score back and it's solid. Well, go back in and add the rest of your schools. Bam, they get it all. They get everything at the same time that school did. Get your last score. You don't have to wait 10 to 15 business days. It's there. What's the benefit to that? Well, you can study longer. You can maybe plan to submit your application in June, but maybe you take your test in July. Or maybe you take it in August or September if you're going for the GRE. Okay? You can do that. For dental and PC and OT, because your tests, you get your scores the day you take the test. Blind submission isn't like a huge like difference, but it can be. So some students will submit their application to the schools that don't require the GRE. And then they'll go take their GRE. So that gives them more time. Everybody's strategy is going to be different. So an advisory appointment is helpful to figure out which one you're going to use. And because I don't have the MCAT test dates, I really can't tell you exactly what that's going to look like until I have those. I talked a little bit about self-study and course. That is a personal decision. There is no right, there is no wrong. No, I am not an advisor that goes, hey, everybody should go out and take the course. Hi, those are like $18,000. I mean, $1,800 to $4,000. No. I think DAP boot camp is like 1,000. GRE Magoosh, I think it's like 600, but you get like a 3 months free trial. It's pretty cool. Okay. Yes, we have a lending library. Yes, I want you to use it. I do not need to be here. As long as my office is open from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, you can go back to the back space. There's tons of books. We just ask that you right now, because I'm telling you about the lending library, everybody's gonna run and use it, right? There's enough copies for everybody to get, but we're asking you to take one subject and the same subject in another style so that you can compare and contrast. And you get it for 2 weeks. And then we ask you to bring it back so that someone else will be able to partake. When we get closer to study time, some of you may still not know how to pay for your study materials, and you can talk to me. I've gotten enough copies of things at this point that I'm kind of feeling like we can lend it longer if we need to, okay? I talked way too long, sorry. So have your materials ideally picked out by Thanksgiving. Get presents. And I do think taking a practice exam is ideal. Make a plan. Yes, make a plan so that you know exactly what your next steps are. Have a plan. Stick to a plan. Give yourself a break. Be honest with yourself. Give yourself grace. I thought I was going to be able to study for 10 hours a week, Erin, during the semester, and that's not working out. Well, then maybe you wait to take your test a little bit longer. That's okay. I would rather you take the darn test once and do it right than try and rush it and have to take it again. Because now you have 2 scores for them to look at. That's not ideal, because not everybody's really generous and says, oh, well, let's look at the highest one. And the second time you take it doesn't mean you're always going to have the highest one. Okay? You are a human. You are a human, not the computer. You cannot multitask as well as you think. Get some vocabulary building. GRE is a perfect thing to do. Word of the day. Read an article from the Wall Street Journal. That will help with critical reasoning skills for cars. Those reading passages are brutal on the MCAT. And if you don't take the effort to get used to that, that's problematic. Pick something to read for fun. Okay. There are some tools like Alex or SAT Math for the GRE. You can find the analytical prompts and do one a day. And question of the day. So like a lot of them, MCAT, DAT, they have like apps where you can get a question of the day. For the DAT, for you dental, there are lots of really fun game apps for the perceptive piece. So like puzzles and different things that make you get your head out of it, your head into the game of being able to perceive the box and how it looks. Okay. Unfortunately, once you take it, if you take it a second time, you can't tell it which scores to send. You have to send them both. Yeah. Basically, you say GRE and it goes poof, so they see both. Yep. These are some really great websites. I also, everybody who's on Zoom, I'm going to send you a link really quick to this handout that I'm handing out to everybody else. And you can come get a copy of it if you want a paper copy of it. But this is what I just described to you on one page. Like it just kind of gives you a nice little handout to look at. I know we're over